All right, so you're enjoying filmmaking. You've picked up some freelance gigs. You're making a little bit of money. You're getting a little bit of traction. You're starting to actually move forward with something that you really enjoy and are passionate about. And that's extremely exciting, extremely rewarding. But the next step in that process is trying to figure out, how do you bridge the gap between just freelance and actually moving to a full-time filmmaker? So how does somebody actually do that? 6 years ago, I moved from freelance to finally full-time. I had done freelance for 2.5 years, shot weddings, shot some nonprofit videos, and shot a horrible product, maybe a couple horrible product videos. But I finally had built up enough portfolio and went from just doing freelance to actually making a salary doing full-time video. So just at a high level, I want to highlight 5 really important things that you need to focus on in order to go from freelance to full-time. And first, you need to pick a niche that you're actually connected in. Second, you need to take small jobs in order to build relationships. Third, you have to be insanely reliable. Fourth, yes, you have to build up a portfolio and you have to share that portfolio with other people. And fifth, you have to leverage social media, but in ways that you may not even expect. All right, so the first one on that list was, you got to pick a niche that you're already connected in. This is going to be different for everybody. For me, I was really connected in the nonprofit and corporate space. I had contacts, I knew people in my inner circles who worked within nonprofits and at corporations. So I was already talking to these people. I was already kind of telling them what I was up to. I was already showing them some of the work that I was doing. And I was having natural conversations without having to sell them. I was already talking to them about what was going on and kind of starting to dream with them on how they could implement and use video within their organizations. So I found the niche that I was most connected in, which was nonprofits and corporations, people that I already knew. I was already talking to them. I just sat down with some of them when we were already having conversations about other different things. I just kind of dreamed with them, what would it look like for you to create a video to share this story? If your organization had one video that you could really kind of lean on, what would that video look like? Do you have a new product that's coming out that you really need to highlight? And what would a video look like? So it's a matter of picking a niche. For you, that could be like music. Maybe you're around a lot of musicians. For other people, it might be small shops. Maybe people who own small shops and you could create a video for them. Maybe people within a specific industry and that's where you could start. So find a niche where you're already connected. You have people already kind of in your inner circle, people that you already see or connect with on a regular basis. Start there. Start dreaming with those people of what would it look like. And once they've kind of caught the dream, it's a lot easier to figure out the logistics of actually getting on to a shoot with them. And yeah, you may have to do a little bit of spec work at first, but I promise you, if you start with a niche that you're already connected in, you're going to have a lot more progress and a lot more momentum there than trying to bust into a niche that you have no contacts in. Second is to take small jobs to build relationships. And I don't mean sell yourself short or undersell what you do. What I'm really talking about is, a lot of times in my experience, organizations are kind of testing you out in the very beginning. They're not going to give you a $5,000 or a $10,000 project initially, especially when you're going from freelance to full-time. They're not going to give you this massive project first, but they might give you a small project. And what they're doing with that small project is seeing if you actually pass the test for them. Are you reliable? Do you produce something that's valuable for them? Do you show up on set and are you easy to work with? So take a small job with an organization knowing that they're probably testing you. And if you pass that test, then they're likely to give you more work, more projects. An experience for me is a large medical group here in town hired me to do a small project. I think it was only $800 at the time, but I knew that was just a test for them. I knew that they were just testing to see if I was a reliable vendor for them. And since I did a good job with that small project, they ended up, over the course of the next 3 months, giving me $20,000 in video work. So that one small project led to a lot of work that I wasn't even expecting that year. So that's why it's so important to take small projects. Initially, it might seem like, oh, this isn't a lot of money. I need to grow with larger projects. But understand that smaller projects, doing them really, really well, almost always lends itself to larger projects. And I can tell you that that client that hired me for that small project, they've probably now spent upwards of $50,000 with me. So don't rule out the small projects. Small projects can be your key, your entryway into much bigger projects. And third is be insanely reliable. I know this one might sound odd, but this is one of the things that I've come to know really, really well, is that people want to hire people who they can trust, people that they can rely on. Remember, at the end of the day, for a lot of organizations, for a lot of brands, they have specific deadlines. Maybe a product is going live, or maybe they're sharing information on a specific date. They have deadlines and they need to meet those deadlines. A lot of times an organization's not looking for just the most talented person. Sure, yeah, they're looking for somebody who is talented and is good with a camera, but they're not always looking for somebody who is the most talented. We all know that vendor who's like, hey, I'm just tweaking my color grade just a little bit more. It's going to be like another day. I'm doing some more sound design. I'm adding in all these special effects. Clients don't care at the end of the day. They want a really good video, but they also want it on time. They want you to do your job really well, but they also want you to be really reliable. So that's why I focus on that so much when I'm trying to teach younger filmmakers, is that you have to be a reliable filmmaker. If you're not a reliable filmmaker, they're not going to have you back out to do other jobs. That's why you have to focus on building trust with them, showing them that you are reliable, that they can count on you, and that you can deliver on time, on budget, with whatever they need, and that it's actually good. But you have to be somebody that they can count on. Remember that, especially for me, working with corporations and nonprofits, a lot of times the marketing directors or creative directors that I'm working with, they have a boss and they have to look good for that boss. So often it's my job to make that person look good for their boss. So I have to be somebody who they can count on, because if they can count on me, then they're going to look good within their organization. And then that's going to be great for everybody, because then I'm going to continue to get jobs because I'm helping them, I'm reliable, they can count on me, and I'm going to make sure things get across the finish line. And then fourth is you have to build up your portfolio, and you have to display your portfolio really, really well. That doesn't mean you have to have a complex website, but you need to make sure that you have a website where you're embedding your videos, where you can showcase those videos, and you can easily send a link to somebody to show them what you've done and what you're working on. And if you're not proud of your portfolio, then you're probably going to have to do a little bit of spec work. And that's okay, because what spec work does is, again, it can allow you to build a relationship. It will allow you to learn. It will allow you to plan and actually have a legitimate shoot, even though you may not get paid for it. It's going to give you an opportunity to do things the way that you want to do things. And that spec work can absolutely go on your portfolio. And then having that work on your portfolio could definitely help you land jobs that are going to be paid in the future. So you need to have an easy way for people to access your portfolio, and you need to share that portfolio online, wherever people are, on social media and whatnot. And lastly, since we're talking about social media, you, of course, have to leverage social media. And I know that that's a no-brainer. But the thing about social media is you've got to focus on using it where the decision makers are. So for me, in corporate and nonprofit world, there's a lot of people on LinkedIn and there's a lot of people on Facebook. The majority, I would say 99% of the people who make decisions on whether they're going to hire me are not hanging out on Instagram, and they're definitely not hanging out on TikTok. So it is not worth it for me to spend the majority of my time blasting my content, working on content for Instagram and TikTok. No matter how fun it may feel, that's not where the people are who are going to cut the checks for me. My corporate marketing directors and creative directors, or nonprofit creative directors, they're not spending the majority of their time there, or they're not looking to decide on a vendor there. They're definitely looking on LinkedIn, and they might see my video on Facebook, especially if they're a part of the older generation. They'll definitely see it there. So you have to leverage social media in the right ways. You don't want to dump all of your time and effort into a platform where those people are who are making decisions. You need to put your time and effort into the right platform, the places where you're going to get the right eyeballs on your work, the eyeballs that are actually going to make a decision whether they're going to hire you or not. And again, it all comes back to that first thing of what is your niche. Wherever your niche is hanging out, that's where you need to hang out on social media as well, and share and circulate your work. Early on for me, I shared a lot of my work on Facebook. I don't share there as much, but Facebook actually really helped me back in 2016 to get more jobs, because a lot of people who were making decisions about hiring a videographer for their corporation or their medium, small size business or their nonprofit, they were on Facebook. And so when they saw my work on Facebook, I got connected with them, had a conversation that led to more work. So leverage social media, definitely leverage social media, but leverage it in the right ways on the right platforms. And then ultimately, don't forget that this all comes down to relationships. You have to build strong relationships. You cannot forego that. You can't skip that. There's no shortcut to relationships. And going from freelance to full-time is all about relationships. Once you start building good relationships within your niche, those people are going to give you jobs and are going to carry you into more revenue, more projects, and you actually becoming full-time. If I didn't have good relationships with marketing directors, communications directors, creative directors, if I didn't have good relationships with them, they wouldn't continue to call me out. They wouldn't continue to hand work to me and rely on me to be able to provide the videos that they need. And yeah, I know relationships aren't this like tangible thing you can like put your thumb on, like this is what I need to be doing better. But you've got to focus on first building a relationship, getting to know people, getting to understand what their problems are and how you could solve those with your filmmaking. You need to build trust with them, so you've got to do some projects with them. You've got to show them that you're reliable and that they can count on you. Yeah, you got to build relationships. All of these things come down to relationships. All right, guys, I hope that helped you. If you've got any questions, please drop those below. I would love to connect with you, answer any questions that you have. If you've enjoyed this content, hit that like button. And if you want to see more of this, hit the subscribe button below. And guys, I will see you on the next video.